Alright, everybody, what's up? And welcome to your reading for the new moon in Leo, happening on the 16th of August in the Northern Hemisphere and the 17th of August in the Southern Hemisphere. I am currently in Tofino, so I'm back landed in a place that is very close to me and a soul home. And I am taking bookings for readings. And so if you'd like to book a reading with me, just leave a comment in the box below or email me, which is also present in the comment box, the drop box, whatever the description box. Welcome to anybody who's new to the channel. I'm Kate. I run Indigo Instinct Healing. I am a starseed channeler and collective guide to help you as a starseed and a highly sensitive person make your traverse on this planet a little bit more gentle. I had two cards leap out of the deck right away, and so I'm going to get a little bit into the general astrology of what's going on in the general sense. And I use astrology as an anchor, but I'm really channeling the collective energy. And so if you don't resonate with the astrological system, that's totally fine. And if you are here, you're most likely drawn to watch this video or listen to this reading. And so don't worry too much about the technical aspects of whether the moon is in this or the, like the sun is currently in Leo, etc. Don't worry about that too much. What I channel is more from the collective energies that are circling the planet at the moment. And so it's more divinely led than it is astrologically based. That being said, the sun is in Leo right now, and we are at the peak of fire season. I mean, I know we saw that in a heartbreaking and heart-wrenching and heart-opening way with the fires in Maui. And if you're on my newsletter, I do channeled readings and channeled reflections through my newsletter as well. And I was talking a little bit about how the fires in Maui are fires in the heart chakra. Maui is known to be a place that resonates at the heart chakra frequency and is considered one of the spaces of the heart chakra of the world. And we are being asked to break our own hearts open and look into what we are doing in our own lives that can allow us to be more aligned, more divinely connected, more connected to our communities and to our true selves and sense of path and purpose. That is how we can help the planet move forwards. Yes, donations are needed. Yes, prayers and sorrow and grief and release and purging and all those things come along with big events like this. But when it comes to big moments and phenomenons on the planet, right? The fires in Maui, that hits close to home for me personally. It's also in the States, and so it's more familiar territory to us. But these types of disasters have been happening all over the world in larger numbers in the past few years. And so maybe this one doesn't particularly resonate with you, but another one does. And what we can do, as I mentioned in my newsletter, is work on raising our own collective frequency in order to help the collective frequency of the planet raise. And how we do that is by becoming more aligned with what we actually want and desire, what is being asked of us, and what we are needing in order to create a life that is worth living for ourselves. When we are constantly living outside for the expectations and the needs of others, answering to things that we didn't necessarily sign up for, but our expectations put on us, stuff like that. That is when we are living out of alignment and we are not contributing to raising our own collective frequency or the collective frequency of the planet. And so that is how you can contribute, by becoming more aligned with your own needs and more focused on what you want and you need. Because as I mentioned in the newsletter, if everything were to be gone tomorrow, no more social media, no more voice in the back of your head that sounds like your parents, no more prying eyes that look and judge about whether you're doing X or Y. If you had nothing surrounding you for influence, would you be happy with your life? Would you be happy with what you're doing? Would you feel satisfied? Would you feel connected to what you're doing? Do you feel connected to nature? Those are the kinds of questions you need to be asking yourselves moving forwards when we have these really destabilizing moments that kind of shake the planet. Because in order for us to get ourselves in the direction where we want to be going and making sure that this planet stays as whole as possible and we maintain as much life as possible on the planet, we need to be in alignment. It's just that simple. And so start asking yourself, instead of getting caught up in the oh, that's so bad, the world is burning, everything's bad, it's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. That's valid, and you can express that as much as you need to, but your focus is more helpful if it's on solutions. And the solution on the personal level is beginning to create your life in a more aligned way so that you feel like you're in harmony with yourself and your own purpose. And if you need help discovering that purpose and you feel like you're pretty lost on the planet, these are the types of readings that I do. And so if you'd like to book with me, like I said, you can just drop a comment, but that's really my response to when things are fiery on the planet. Okay, without further ado, let's jump into the reading. So these cards both just flew out. Yeah, okay. I mean, this goes on a little bit of what I just finished saying, but we've got the muse for inspiration here. And then we've got the broken arrow, which is embrace the energy of peace. And I'm going to start with the muse here. And so what we're being asked to do with this full moon is when we are presented with something in our life, and we're going to bring this down to the personal scale. So when you're presented with something in your life that is just beating down, like just feeling so challenging and so tireless and just so hard, where are the windows of inspiration opening up? You know, when I was working as a barista many years ago and was not getting enough sleep and not treating my body well and working at 6 a.m. every day and just really burnt out, I realized that I started to make up rap verses. Like I started to get into hip hop music more deeply and make up my own raps and my own rhymes at 6 a.m. when I was opening the cafe and all by myself making muffins. And that was a creative response to the stress that I was under. And so for those of you who feel pressurized or trapped at the moment, or you just feel like soggy and downtrodden, where can you turn to a window that exists with inspiration? You know, where can you turn to a thread that might be calling you to spend a little bit more time studying it? You know, getting into an activity that you find interesting, spending more time reading a book you've been wanting to, or doing the crocheting that you feel like you suck at, but it makes you feel at peace. You know, where can you turn your strife into inspiration, and use that creative outlet to help you uplift yourself? Because the idea of us needing to uplift ourselves by ourselves from within all the time is impossible. It's damn near impossible. And so where can you find an activity that uplifts you without having to put in such extensive effort? And then go to that and use that as your lever, as your leverage. And then with the broken arrow, this is more of a collective sense. And so we're talking about relational energy, your position in the greater picture, your position in your relationships in a relational way that you engage with the people around you and on this earth. And one of the starkest visions that is coming through is this idea of the more that we believe that we're alone, the more we are consciously or unconsciously extending a battering ram towards the connections that could actually be really nurturing for us. The more that we believe we are misunderstood, or we're complicated, or we're just never going to really be held in the way that we need to, or be accepted in the way that we need to, the more that we hold that belief, the further away those connections are going to become. And so can you suspend your disbelief? You know, hold the doubt in a bag hanging off a tree from a distance. And, you know, you can still see it, sure, but don't bring it with you. Just place that doubt to the side for just a little bit and see if you can allow those connections to come towards you. Without making excuses for why you don't want to see people, without making excuses for why you are too busy or you just don't want to, or whatever it is, see if you can allow them to enter your life and witness how much softer you become and how you allow yourself to change. Because for a lot of you, this year is going to be about finding that soul tribe and that soul family that is coming towards a lot of us in this next 12 months. But you have to let them in. You have to let them reach you and let them come to you. So let yourself be witnessed in that way. They seem to be coming out in pairs today. Okay, this has to do with the stuff on the ground. And so when I say that, I mean the mundane and the day-to-day and your earthly things. So, maybe your job or your kids or your morning ritual or those things that are really, really on the ground. So we've got the Earth Guardian there, and then the Mountain Presence. And if you'll notice, they're actually both green, which is pretty sweet because they're two different decks. And so what we're being asked to embody with the Earth Guardian is this sense of simplicity in our grounding. And so that really comes down to basic practices like taking your shoes off more often. Or if you have a garden, weed it once a day, or just go and visit it once a day. Like really simple things. We don't have to do these big overarching ceremonies every time we want to get grounded. It's really about small practices and incorporating small practices day to day that allow us to feel a little bit more connected to our bodies and the earth beneath our feet and our breath. And for many of you, this is going to become so incredibly essential as the month rounds out, as we pass this new moon and head towards September, because we're not quite done with the ascent of this intensity. I know it feels like things probably can't get much more intense, but they will. And you'll be able to experience that from a really beautiful place of witnessing that wind go by instead of being caught in the air current, if you have enough practice with grounding yourself more consistently. Allow yourself to implement them and learn and use them, and don't feel silly doing them. Or, I sometimes get caught in the trap of, oh, well, I do this in therapy, but I don't do it in my real life. And so simple grounding practices. For some of you, that's going to be as simple as having a stone in your pocket, something real and concrete to connect with, to touch, and to remind yourself of where you are. But don't be embarrassed of needing to implement these practices when you're already a being that's relatively high vibrational. So allow yourself to ground in simplicity. And then in our presence card, our mountain presence card, there's a much softer energy coming through with this one. Much more about how water allows the mountain to be changed and to be shaped. And this really, I feel using the word receiving can be a little bit repetitive, especially if you're somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience with allowing yourself to receive. But allowing things to come closer, allowing things to touch you or to move you or to affect you or to bolster you, any of these feelings. What's really coming through with this mountain card is the way in which water can gently change the shape of a mountain, and the way in which, if you allow these little moments of softness and you allow these little moments of good and joy, these little pockets of joy, to shape you more than the storms, you're going to be shaped in a way that is much more resilient to any of the negative stuff coming towards you in your life. If you can allow yourself to be shaped by the positive and the loving, and that has to do with, or it involves, allowing that to really land with you and to impact you. But if you can allow yourself to be shaped by those experiences more so than the challenging ones, then the shape that you will end up embodying will be much more tuned or primed for receiving those positive experiences, and the lower, denser, harder experiences that we all have. We can't have dark without light and vice versa. But those experiences just won't land in the cracks quite the same way. So allowing being that word. There's quite a combination of releasing and receptivity and sort of letting ourselves be washed this new moon. And so for some of you, that's going to feel very teary, even though it's in Leo. It's going to feel teary in a cleansing kind of way. And for some of you, it's going to be this like fire purification. And so just be open to whichever one is coming towards you, and know that your individual experience is curated for you. And so if someone else is feeling totally differently, that doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. Okay. Interesting. Okay, this is on a larger social scale, and especially if you're in tune with the larger social context, or if you're a millennial, a warrior starseed of this cohort, you have that strong sense of social justice. And we have the White Buffalo Woman Integrity card. And what we're being asked to do with this card is a matter of practice what you preach. And so if you practice being open and accepting for all, but then you notice that you're a little jealous when a new friend gets introduced to the social circle, or you're a little judgmental of the group of people who are 4 tables over from you at a restaurant, just gently check yourself. We forget that living in the world is a lot like living in a larger scale version of junior high. And those people that we don't know don't deserve our judgments, and we don't want to be judged either. And it often is a reflection of how harshly we judge ourselves when we're projecting that out into the world as well, as a state of non-acceptance. And so the more you work on building your self-integrity with your practices, your routine, your rituals, where do I say yes? Where do I draw the line? When do I say, hey, I'd love to meet up, but I can't tonight because I want to go to bed early, or I'd really love to be involved in this dinner, but I would rather go for a walk. The more that you can build those rituals of integrity within yourself and work on deconstructing the judgment that you have created within yourself, that is how you're going to be able to work on deconstructing that judgment that exists on a larger social context. And I have a feeling that this kind of destabilization is going to be happening in a larger social context coming forwards, maybe closer to November, American Thanksgiving, around those times. The states are just so supercharged with the need for this. And so the faster that you address your own subconscious biases and your subconscious tendencies and these other areas where you think that you've maybe figured it out but haven't quite, or have a niggling feeling that you haven't quite figured it out, do some research, read some books, listen to podcasts, listen to oppressed voices, minoritized voices, listen to the other perspective, and allow yourself, and it sort of goes both ways, like even if you are in a minoritized group and you feel that threat a lot, maybe try and listen to people who you normally would judge, but they actually are just trying to share goodness and speak relatively neutrally. It's really about dropping judgment on all sides and building that integrity practice within yourself, because it's going to make your sense of self and your sense of self-understanding a lot easier, so that when things become destabilized and kind of challenging, then you know who you are and you know where you stand. And so allow that practice to be implicated and implemented. Implemented is what I meant to say. I've got one more bonus card. I wasn't going to flip it, but I am curious, and it did fall out of the pack, so I'll do one more. Interesting. Okay. So we have this amazing, this is Lakshmi, the goddess Lakshmi of abundance. This card is so colorful and has so much going on. And we got it in reverse. And what interestingly is coming through for this is that you do actually have so much abundance coming towards you, like an insane amount. But if you keep telling yourself the story of, oh, I am poor, I am struggling, this is challenging, money is hard, good things don't happen to me, I won't be successful, you will literally shut the doors on it. And I always say this in my readings, that what's meant for you is never available for anybody else, and you can't really miss it. Like, there's no such thing as missing your opportunities, because they always will come back around when they're meant for you. But if you straight up close the door on yourself, then it's just going to be waiting for you on the other side. And so cultivating this sense of abundance from within, and some of you may love it, some of you may hate it, but using the gratitude practice, really naming what you have around you in your life that you are super grateful for, people, place, things, events, time, nature, pets, TV shows, whatever. It doesn't matter. But cultivating this sense of inner richness is going to allow you to be prepared to receive and to accept that deep abundance that is coming towards you, that is just around the corner. And so changing the narrative, it's never an easy task, changing the internal narrative, but that is what we're working towards. And so thank you so much for being here. This, I would say this bi-weekly reading for the new moon in Leo. I'm Kate. Thank you so much for watching. Please like the video and subscribe if you feel called to. Hit the little notification bell so that you know when a new video comes out. Check out my other videos and meditations on this channel, and subscribe to the newsletter if you want the written updates as well. And from my heart to yours, thank you. Blessings.